Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. My name is Carlos Moncada. I'm Director of Client Services here at InfoReady. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us for today's Peer Spotlight webinar with our guest panelist from Lehigh University, Ellen Liebnow. Now, today's webinar will be focused on how Lehigh University manages their internal funding opportunities. And Ellen's going to be sharing their best practices for that process and other processes. Lehigh also has been using InfoReady for about a year now, a little under a year. So she's also going to be discussing her institution's journey as they've adopted a new system in the last year. You know, in this day and age with more and more software and more solutions, it's always good to get that kind of perspective. Now, before getting started, let's discuss the schedule and the logistics. The webinar is scheduled for 60 minutes, so you're going to be able to get in and out. You'll even be able, to eat your lunch with us today if you're in a time zone where it's lunch hour. So the webinar is scheduled for 60 minutes. About 20 minutes will be for the panelist presentation. Then the remainder will be Q&A with the panelists, and after all that's done, we're also going to have a 15-minute demo of InfoReady Review. So you can stay with us and view that if you'd like and ask some questions. The webinar itself is being recorded, and if you have any colleagues that couldn't attend and you'd like to share it with them, we'll post the recording on our website in the next week or so. And you may also see an email from us shortly after the webinar with an unedited version. As for how we're handling phone and audio, all the phones are muted, and any questions can be submitted via the chat option. So please make sure to submit some questions if you're curious about anything. And of course, don't forget to fill out the post-webinar survey. Now that we've covered the logistics, I'd like to introduce our panelist, Ellen Liebnow from Lehigh University. She's a Research Program Development Specialist in the Office of the Vice President and Associate Provost for Research and Graduate Studies. That was a mouthful. They go by OVPR for short.
Yes, yeah.
Now, Ellen, take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carlos, for having me. I'm really excited to do this webinar today. As Carlos mentioned, we just started using InfoReady Review, and we're really happy with it. So I hope that my perspective and presentation are useful to everyone. So for today, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Lehigh and our office. I'll talk about how we started using InfoReady Review and how we use it for our internal grants, and I'll talk a little bit about our internal grants as well. And then I'll spend some time talking about our internal review committee and our hopes moving forward using InfoReady. Next. Okay, so a little bit about Lehigh. We are an R2 research institution. We consist of 4 colleges that will soon be 5. The colleges are Arts and Sciences, Business and Economics, Education, Engineering, and then we will soon have the College of Health. And the College of Health students will be able to enroll starting in 2020. It's part of a larger Path to Prominence plan that Lehigh has started, and that will also include expanding the student population by 1,000 and the faculty by 100. So now, currently, there are about 542 faculty and about 5,000 undergrad students. So in the next couple of years, we hope to start expanding the faculty and the students. And then we do have a sizable grad student population of almost 2,000. Next. So Lehigh University, our administration, I'm sure it's similar in other institutions, we're organized by STEMs, and our office makes up the research STEM, and that consists of our main office, the Office of the VP and Associate Provost for Research and Graduate Studies. We also have the Baker Institute for Entrepreneurship, and this office offers student programming focused on entrepreneurial education. We have the Grad Student Life Office, which provides services, programs, workshops for grad students. We have our Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, and they handle proposal submission and award management for faculty. We also have the Office of Tech Transfer, and they manage the intellectual property. And then we also have Research Integrity, and they are in charge of the federal regulations, policy, research, administration policy, IRB, IACUC, conflict of interest, all of that. Next slide. So I am in the Office of the Vice President for Research and Graduate Studies, and our office is organized by the VP. We have an administrative director, we have a research program development officer, we have my position, and then we also have an executive secretary. And that's just the VP office. It is a centralized office, meaning we work across all colleges. We are the only research development office on campus. Our office does not have grant writers. Our College of Education does have their own research program development officer who works with faculty on grant writing and preparation, but that position is not affiliated with our office. It's only in the College of Ed, and no other college has a similar position, so it's just our office. We manage the internal grant programs and limited submissions. We provide research development through funding agency-specific workshops. We have writing workshops and writing retreats for book proposals or even specific funding programs such as NSF Career. We do an NSF Career workshop with faculty. And then we also focus on faculty development, and we often coordinate with the Deputy Provost for Faculty Affairs on programs, workshops, other events around faculty development. Next slide. Okay, so as Carlos mentioned, we just started using InfoReady Review, and we're really, really happy with it. We became a client in the last summer. In the fall of 2018, that's when we first started launching our internal grants competitions. And then this past spring, we concluded our internal grant cycle on InfoReady. Before we were using InfoReady, we did everything pretty much manual when it came to internal grants. Everything was done through email, proposal submissions, review, everything was pretty much done through email and or using a combination of our course site, which is kind of, I guess, like Blackboard or Moodle, and then also using Google Drive sometimes, and then eventually we found out about InfoReady, and we spoke to a couple of clients and got their feedback on it, and we really liked what we saw, so we went with it. To get everyone ready to start using InfoReady, we had to prep faculty. So we sent out emails. We sent emails to deans, department chairs. We made sure to copy any coordinators and secretaries. We also created a department chair or dean approval guide because we require department chairs to sign off on internal grants proposals. If a department chair is submitting an internal grant, then their dean would have to sign off. So we made a guide for them on how to get into the system, how to click approve or not approve, and how to complete that review. We have a review committee, which I'll talk about in a bit, and we emailed them. We sent them example emails of what they would be getting from InfoReady, and just gave as many people a heads up as possible to let them know that this is the new system that we're going to be using. Let us know if you have any questions, and just try to give them as much advance warning as possible. And I did get a lot of feedback from faculty members saying, this is great, no more hard signatures required, no more having to chase down people. So we did get positive feedback from faculty using the system. Okay, next slide. So I'll talk about our internal grants. We have 4 recurring internal grants that run in the fall and the spring. They range from $5,000 to $100,000, and they are for individuals and or teams of faculty. Our faculty research grants are the smallest grants. They provide up to $5,000 for continuing or dissemination of research. They also support new possibilities in research, and the FRG is offered in both the fall and in the spring, so we have 2 instances of that. The faculty innovation grants, or the FIG grants, they provide up to $30,000 for new projects, programs, new collaborations, or for taking existing programs in new directions. FIG projects are intended to continue beyond the initial investment, and the FIG program is offered in the spring. The collaborative research opportunity grants, or CORE grants, they provide up to $60,000 to support the establishment and growth of multi-faculty research programs, with an emphasis on expanded scope and impact, and also on opening up new possibilities in research. And they are also intended to continue beyond the initial investment. And the core grants are offered in the spring as well. And then the accelerator grant is our largest program, and it provides up to $100,000. It's intended to enable strong teams to more quickly pursue a significant opportunity in which Lehigh can establish a leadership position. And the funds can be used over a 2-year period, and the program is offered in the fall. So those are our main internal grants programs that we used InfoReady Review for. So we started in the fall with our FRG and our accelerator, and then in the spring we had our spring FRG, our FIG, and our core. Next slide. So the next couple of slides are just going to be an example of our FRG competition in InfoReady Review, how we set it up. It's largely the same. What we ask from faculty is largely the same, so I'm just showing the application for the FRG program. And you know, it's set up pretty basic. Just get some personal details. If they have any co-applicants, they can list them there. For the competition files, we provide them with the guidelines, the award history, so they can see who has been awarded in the past, And then we also have a link for the reviewer's guide so that when reviewers are assigned proposals and they go in to see their review, they can click on a link and it will take them to this reviewer's guide, and then it's just their guide for going through the review process. So next slide. This is just continuing the FRG application, the different things we want to know, IRB, an abstract, and then we also ask for conflict of interest. Next slide. And then this is just the final section where they upload the main part of their proposal, the narrative, budget, and then they can hit submit. And again, it's largely the same for all of our internal grants, the various items that we're asking for. So I just showed the FRG application. Next slide. So I wanted to go over our how we review and our internal review committee. So for our internal review committee, they are responsible for reviewing the internal grants proposals. It's a standing committee, about 30 to 35 members across all colleges. Membership is by appointment for a 3-year term, which can be renewed, and membership on the IRC does count towards service for faculty. When we select faculty to serve, we're looking for research active, associate, or full professors. The VP then signs off on our selection and we send them an appointment letter. At the end of their 3-year service, we can either renew their term or we send them a completion letter thanking them for their service. For reviewing the internal grants, we select 3 reviewers from the IRC, and we're looking for faculty whose expertise makes them best suited to review the proposal. They then individually review their assigned proposals in InfoReady review. And then we also meet in person to discuss. And this is for every grant program. So we have a review session for every grant program. And since they're offered at different times throughout the year, it's not all at once. So you do the FRG program, and then you do the accelerator, and then there's a bit of a break, and then you have the spring. So they're not getting a bunch all at once. Depending on the amount of proposals we receive, the reviewers are sometimes reviewing up to maybe about 5 proposals, depending on how many we get. And during the in-person review session, we ask the 3 main reviewers to describe the proposal to everyone else, discuss their reviews and their scores. And then we ask all of the reviewers, even those who were not assigned to the proposal, to record a score within the range of the assigned reviewers' scores. Okay, next slide. So this is just an example of our review in InfoReady review. Again, it's largely the same for all of our internal grants, so I'm just showing the FRG review. We ask the reviewers to provide some comments based on various criteria, and then we also ask them to score the different sections, and then there's a section, an overall section at the end. Next slide. These are just some more criteria that we ask the reviewers to look at and score. Next slide. And then they provide an overall evaluation and score. And then when we meet in person for the review session, this is largely what the reviewers are discussing. They're discussing their general feedback of the proposal, and they provide their score to all the other reviewers in the room. All right, next slide. All right, so we did just start using InfoReady. So we do have a lot more ideas for using it. We definitely want to start using the reports. We do use reports for our internal grants, progress reports, and final reports. So I would like to start putting them in InfoReady because currently it's all done also through email, emailing them a Word document, asking them to fill it out, and then sending it back to us. So I would like to get the reports into InfoReady. We would like to start posting our limited submission competitions, which we have already. I sort of highlighted. We put the NEH summer stipend up in InfoReady. And then we also want to expand InfoReady review to other offices. There are other offices on campus that offer funding opportunities for faculty or students, and we want to start putting the word out there and having other offices use it as well, so it could hopefully maybe one day be sort of a central stop for faculty and students to find funding. And so we have started the Center for Ethics. They asked to use InfoReady, and they posted 2 of their grants up on InfoReady. And so we are just gonna keep advertising InfoReady on campus, and we're going to try and get other people to use it as much as possible. So those are our plans moving forward. And then that's the end.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. We have some questions here.
Yes.
And let's dive right in. So, Ellen, it looks like this is a 2-part question.
Okay.
So part 1, when you compare using InfoReady Review to your old methods, what have been time savings you found, or like biggest differences? Ellen, I think you're muted, so no one can hear you. Let's unmute you. Alan, you may have muted your phone. Could you unmute yourself? So I think Ellen's working through some audio issues. I'd like to take this time to encourage questions to be submitted. Also, if you have a question in mind, I'm sure other people may have them as well. And we can always reach out to you as well. So, I'm going to go through the questions and see if I can answer any. Most of the questions look like they're Ellen specific, though. So while we're working with Ellen to Oh, her internet just cut out. So while we're working with,
Carla?
are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, my internet just cut out for some reason. It was very strange.
Oh, it's, you know, I've had that happen to myself as well. So all good.
I'm sorry about that.
So back to the original question.
Okay.
Basically, you know, can you compare before and after of, you know, time savings?
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, we've been so happy with InfoReady Review. It saves a ton of time. The system automatically sends notifications, anyone who has anything outstanding in the system. So if you have faculty reviewers and they haven't submitted their review, they get notifications all the time. So you aren't, you know, manually, oh, which ones haven't we received? I got to email them. You aren't worried about the back and forth. If somebody is missing something from their proposal, then you have to go back to them, say, hey, you're missing this, you're missing that. Everything in InfoReady, in order for them to submit, they have to fill those items out. So they're not missing anything. You don't have to do that constant follow-up. You don't have to remind them of the department chair or the dean sign off because that's all automatic. So I mean, we've been really, really happy with it. And especially me, I was largely the person responsible for all of the communication, all of the emails, all of the administration of the internal grants. So using InfoReady Review has been such a big help, and the faculty really like using it as well.
So we've got a question related to how you socialize the system ahead of time. Because, you know, during your presentation, you spoke a lot about you know, all the efforts you made ahead of time. So the question is really about how if you did any like special training session.
So we didn't do any special training sessions. We sent an email. We just sent additional emails to faculty about the new system, about what to expect. You know, we didn't really do anything sort of above and beyond. I mean, faculty, they use similar systems maybe for like journal reviews. They were all fairly familiar with and used Google Drive when we had them use that. So we didn't really foresee any problems. I also, in the email communications we sent out, always stated we're available to help. Please give us a call. Please send us an email. And when we first started using it, I would get the calls. People had questions. Where is this in InfoReady? How do I find my review? How do I get back to the proposal? It's not letting me submit. You know, so we had those questions up front, but after a while, people just got the hang of it, and they really enjoyed using it. So we didn't really do anything too crazy, didn't do anything above and beyond, just the email communications, and then always letting them know that we were available to help troubleshoot or anything.
Thanks, Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
It's really helpful because that's always one of the worries people have up front about how people are going to react to a new tool being involved and
Yes.
you know, the rollout of it. So another question here relates to that initial socialization, and it asks, how did you write the reviewer guide? Did you start with InfoReady help guides? But by the way, before you jump in, I do want to say InfraReady does have a reviewer guide of their own as well, but people can adapt those. Now, Ellen, you can take it away.
Yes, we had and have our own separate reviewer's guide because it relates to the scoring and the criteria. So we have the reviewer's guide set up, and it explains like what we mean for each criteria. Like when you're looking at their proposal narrative, this is what we want you to look at and really focus on. And this is what our scores mean. This is what a 1 means. This is what a 3 means. This is what a 7 means. So that's what our reviewers guides are. The support documents that InfraReady has and offers through their support system, they're great. I put up, you can see on the slide, the moving forward slide. I don't know if you can see it, but on our site under support documents, some of those documents are directly from InfraReady Review. I just downloaded them and then uploaded them to our site. And InfraReady, the InfraReady support people, I mean, they're so great too. Any questions you have, their response is immediate. Any concerns, their email, call, they always answer right away. They even sent me, they had updated some of the support documents that they noticed I was using on our site, and they had updated versions of them. And they actually emailed them to me and said, hey, we have these updated versions. We noticed you're using them on your site. Just wanted to give them to you. So I was really impressed with that. So we do have a combination of using the InfraReady Review support documents that they provide on their support site, and we also have our own guides that we made for certain things.
Thank you, Ellen. People found that very helpful based off the comments. One person asked whether you would be able to share your version of your reviewer guide. If so, we can handle that sharing after the webinar. We can handle that.
Okay, yeah. I'll have to check, but I will, if I'm able to, I'll send it to Carlos to share.
Thanks, Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's another question related to that of sharing documents. Someone asked, can we get a copy of your internal review committee rubric? That one puts you on the spot a little bit, I know.
Well, but maybe I'm not understanding. Our internal review committee rubric, like for the internal grants, like when we ask them to review the internal grants, we don't have a rubric for when we pick faculty for the committee. We just look at faculty and we sort of have an idea of who we want to ask, and but then we have rubrics for the individual grants programs if that's what they're asking for.
Okay, well, so the person who asked for a copy of the internal review rubric, if you could send a clarifying question for Ellen, we'll address that after we ask some other questions. Thank you. Now, so here's a question related to, the application form itself. So this is about budgets. How are composite budgets reported on? For instance, compiling individual budgets into a main budget, how do you manage this? This is a completely different kind of question, so sorry for no good segue there.
No, it's all right. So in the application on InfraReady Review, we just have a field where they list their total budget. In the proposal upload, we still ask for a budget section, and in there is where they list all the itemized budget details. So I hope that answers that question.
So if anyone had follow-up to that, feel free to submit a follow-up question. Another budget-related question. Does the system track expenditures such as, i.e., notifies RFG available balances when applicable? I feel like I just butchered that question. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I think, Carlos, you might be better able to answer that question. We don't use the system for that. When we set up accounts and indexes for faculty, we have to go through our research accounting department, and we use Banner for all of that. So we don't use it in InfoReady review. Is that something it can do, Carlos?
So I can answer that. I just wanted you to share how you handle that part of the process. So InfoReady doesn't handle budgeting and accounting in the manner the question was asked. It's more for collecting and tracking of the information. So it's not going to calculate the burn rate of the funds, for example. So here is another question for you related to something we were discussing before, which was the internal review committee. So the follow-up is, we were more specifically asking what criteria is the internal committee being asked to review on the proposals. Could you share that with us? So you actually could share that template.
Right, so those are the reviewer's guides, and we have separate ones for all of the internal grants programs, because while some of the criteria is the same, some of it is different, obviously based on the grant program. So let me ask about sharing that, and then I'll give them to Carlos if I'm able to share those. But yeah, I will definitely ask.
Great. Yeah, we'll facilitate if you have authorization. We will be able to facilitate that offline. And then another question is, once the system's set up, how much maintenance is it for your IP? So what's been the experience there, Ellen?
It was really, really easy to set up. To be honest, I don't really know what the IT department did, but I know that we combined InfoReady Review with our single sign-on. So Lehigh has single sign-on. Everyone on campus has an ID and a password, and you use it to sign in to your email and other things. And so we combined our InfoReady Review site with that, so that when faculty, staff, they go to log in to InfoReady Review, all they have to do is use their Lehigh email and password for their credentials, their login credentials. So that was really easy for our LTS, our Library Technology Services, to set up. They're familiar with setting up that. So I don't remember it taking very long. And then other than that, we didn't have much to do with the the behind the scenes stuff. It didn't take very long, and we did get to customize things. Like, we told Carlos what colors we wanted. We used our Lehigh colors. You are able to customize a lot on your homepage, which is all up to you. So if you wanted to change, I think you can see our homepage on this InfoReady Review slide. If you wanted to change the picture, if you wanted to change all that text, you can. So it's really customizable. But yeah, I don't recall it ever being, there were any problems with setting it up behind the scenes.
Yeah, really the only IT is involved is in the initial setup of the single sign-on with your university credentials. The only other times I can think of IT being involved is when maybe you decide to set up some sort of custom data feed, so we'd have to work with your IT department to map the data from your system to InfoReady Review or from InfoReady Review to your system. But, it's really set up to be and designed to be a self-service module. I'm going to share a quick anecdote while I have the floor here. The IT director for the Office of Research of one of the institutions we work with said that once they adopted InfoReady Review, they were able to sunset 2 servers. So he said, the IT director said all of his people that were working on that were really happy when they were able to sunset those servers and not have to worry about it anymore. So it really is a time saver all around when it comes to the system and IT involvement. So next question. Ellen, I think this relates to some of your future uses you discussed. Do you intend using the system for graduate scholarship applications or postdoctoral fellowship applications?
So we hope to expand InfoReady Review to as many other offices and for as many other programs as possible. We do, the Center for Ethics, they have a grad student funding. Our office, we have an undergrad student funding opportunity, just one, but we put it through InfoReady Review. For our office, we don't handle the grad apps. They do the graduate applications. They do. Lehigh uses CollegeNet, I believe, for that. But I mean, we certainly want to let as many people know on campus that we have this software and that they are able to use it. And I know that other institutions use InfoReady Review for a lot of other opportunities, not just grant funding. So yeah, we definitely hope to keep expanding it and get as many people using it as possible.
Thank you. So here's another question for you related to that, expanding to other units on campus. Question is, are you still going to be the point of contact for the whole university, or do you plan on giving other offices administrator roles to run their own competition?
Right, so for the Center for Ethics, we gave them their own administrator role, and I have super administrative privileges, so I can see what they're doing and I can help them if they need it, but I let them be in control of how they want it set up and the questions they want to ask. I try to be hands-off with that. The woman who was set up to be the administrator for that, I sat down with her. I do a lot of one-on-ones with her, showing her different things she can do, answering her questions. She'll call me from time to time, or she'll send me an email about it. I don't mind that. When I recently went on vacation and I was going to be gone for a while, so I told her, you know, I won't be around, and if you have a question, you can go directly to InfoReady. So she, you know, has the information. I told her she can go directly to them. At one point, I think we did go to InfoReady because she had asked me something that we needed to go to InfoReady to have answered. So right now, I don't mind being her point of contact because she's the only other person using the system besides for myself. As we grow and we get more and more people, you know, I will certainly, they can certainly reach out to InfoReady Review on their own. Again, InfoReady Review, their support staff are great, really responsive. So I don't envision any problems with, as more and more people start using the system, that they can just go directly to InfoReady Review.
Thanks, Alan. I actually just want to add two items there. One is a plug for a future webinar we're planning. I think in either July or August, we're planning on hosting a webinar where an individual from another institution that's using this InfoReady Review extensively and using our Engagement Hub tool as well is going to be a panelist for a webinar where they talk about being the main point of contact at the university. So keep an eye out on that webinar. I think that will be really helpful as groups expand their use of the system. You know, there'll be some good tips there so you don't feel overwhelmed by just more people coming to you with questions about managing their programs in the system. So that's point one. Point two is we have started noticing admins asking this question. So we recently revamped our support portal, and there's actually a section, a getting started section in there with a lot of information targeted to first-time administrators, or maybe administrators can only use the system once a year. So there's a lot of getting started and quick start type of documentation and articles. So that's in the support portal. A support portal can be accessed through the little help through the help link in the upper right corner of the Ready Review. So just wanted to add that to help support what Alan was sharing. So this is a follow-up question with, follow-up question for a previous question. Ellen, do you have any external applicants or reviewers? Has it been just as simple for them as it is for their internal users?
So no, we don't use external reviewers or applicants. As of now, InfoReady is just being strictly used for faculty, staff of Lehigh, so we haven't had any external users for the system. But I know that capability exists, and InfoReady Review, again, their support staff are great, and they have, like Carlos was saying, they have support documents, so there's information out there. If you do have external applicants, you can send them a guide. I think InfoReady Review, they have a guide for external applicants in their support portal. So, but no, as of now, Lehigh, we aren't using any external reviewers or applicants.
Thanks, Helen.
I think we should.
So there's a question that relates to, you mentioned you have a centralized office of research and looking at other units using the system as well. So it's a two-part question. One is, how long has Lehigh had a centralized system for their Office of Research? And the part two is, how do you plan on managing use of the system as it grows?
Okay, so we have had a centralized office at Lehigh for years. I've been here for 5 years, and it's been this way since before I started. So it's been like this for quite a while. And then how we plan to manage it moving forward. So we will, again, we'll assign administrators. They will be responsible for their own competitions. I'll be super admin so I can see and help them if needed, with the goal that they'll eventually feel comfortable to go to info-ready review directly with any questions. We also plan on sharing expenses. So however many admins other offices need, we will charge a fee based on that. So we do plan on sharing the costs, and we'll just keep expanding the use of it and hope that a lot of other offices want to post their competitions on InfoReady.
Ellen. So here's another question, and this is related to your best practices for review process management.
Mm-hmm.
What are your best practices for review process management?
So some of our best practices, we like to have at least 3 reviewers per proposal. We do try and look at expertise, see who is best suited to review those. We have them review the proposals individually, and then we meet all together as a big group, and we discuss some best practices for the review meeting. You know, what happens in the review meeting stays in the review meeting. We ask that reviewers keep what's discussed confidential, but we do want a good discussion in the review sessions. So we do ask that people are honest. We also ask that reviewers, everyone has to record a score. But we also ask that they not go out of the range of the 3 main reviewers. And then
I think Alan may have lost internet again. So with that in mind, we're going to share some slides while we're waiting for Ellen to return. Because dead air is not good air. So with that in mind, I'm going to let my colleague, Diane Sheldon-Koo, discuss some of the ins and outs of InfoReady Review.
Well, yes, welcome. Thank you for staying around to learn a little bit about InfoReady Review. Thank you, Ellen. When you get back on, we appreciate your time for sharing your best practices. It's been extremely informative. Thank you. So let me start by saying a little bit about InfoReady, the corporation. So we really believe we've set up our practices to help universities automate their workflows and promote and manage their opportunities. That's really our mandate. We believe that software needs to be easy to use with minimal training. We need to be easy to implement within weeks, not months or years. Oh, here she comes.
Sorry.
All right, well, we'll continue this later.
I don't know why it's doing this to me, but I'm back now, so I'm sorry. I was finishing up with that question anyway, so.
Well, glad you're back. We've got 5 minutes left for questions for Ellen. We have 3 or 4 remaining, so let's see if we can get through them all. And after we get through these, we'll come back to Diane. So, Ellen, there was a question related to, you mentioned confidentiality. So there's a question related to confidentiality. And that's, do you attempt to anonymize internal applications for your program? So that's internal grant and limited submissions.
So we make it anonymous to the applicants. So the applicants don't know who everyone else is, who all the other applicants are. They don't know who the reviewers are. They do eventually find out who is awarded because we list who's awarded, but you know, it's anonymous as to who else is applying and who's reviewing their proposals. It's not anonymous for reviewers. They can see who the applicants are. It's not anonymous for department chairs or deans either because they have to sign off on the proposal, so they have to know who's submitting, and so it's not anonymous for them.
Thanks, Alan. Now, there's another question that's kind of in the same vein as what we're talking about.
Okay.
Well, and before I do that, I do want to say that in the system there's an option for the administrator to keep applicant names confidential from reviewers, so that is an option. But moving on to this other question, do you announce limited submission opportunities to all faculty, selected faculty, or only chairs and deans?
So it depends on the request for proposal. Well, sometimes if it's for a specific area or a specific focus, we'll send it to those faculty members. Sometimes we'll send it to a number of departments. We do include department chairs in those lists and deans also. I don't think there might only be a few where we send to everyone, but mostly it depends on what the limited submission opportunity is. You know, we'll take a look at it and we'll see who, should get it, who should get the notification. But department chairs and deans are most likely included in those.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that. And there's another similarly related question about the audience for distribution. So the question is, do you think it would be possible to configure infrared review so that announcements for limited submission RFPs are only distributed to deans, chairs, directors, and selected administrators? I can think of some ways, but it would be in your 1 minute. Give me a 30-second version of if you do that, how you do that.
Well, so we aren't. We do all of our announcements through email still. I don't know if you can do a mass email or something through InfoReady, but people get email notifications when they're in InfoReady. So if they are reviewing something, or if they have if they have a draft, they'll get notifications from the system. I don't know if you can use the system like an mass email notification for other things, but when you create competitions, you can restrict people from applying to certain competitions based on their departments or their fields of study, right? So if computer science could only apply to this competition, we could restrict it down to computer science, and then only computer science faculty members would be able to apply to that.
Thanks, Ellen. Very much appreciated. And you know what? We are at time. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. We've reached the end of the panelist discussion. And the session today was recorded and will be posted within the next week or so, and you'll receive an unedited version via email shortly. And big special thank you to Ellen Liebnow from Lehigh University. So just wanted to clap there.
Thank you.
And there were a couple people who wanted to see if they could share information with you, so we'll handle that.
Okay. Yep.
Offline in the next couple days. So thanks very much, Ellen. We'll be in touch about that. And then for everyone leaving right now, don't forget the post-webinar survey. So you'll be prompted with that once you log out. And then for everyone who's staying for a little more information about InfoReady Review, I'll turn back over to Diane Sheldon-Koo, and she's going to go through that.
Thank you, Carlos. So we started to talk about what InfoReady, the corporation, does. And we really, our beliefs are that software that we produce and help the university automate their workflows with should be easy to use, it should be easy to implement, and easy to manage. So in that, go ahead, next slide. In that, we have set up where we play in the pre-award cycle. So as you look through this, this is a limited submission example of a workflow. And you can see all of the little InfoReady bows that our logo shows you where InfoReady plays and fits into your process. So we integrate really well with Pivot, Cayuse, so you can see that we're not the only player, but this is an area that's had a lot of burdensome manual administrative processes where we can come in and help facilitate that workflow. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this just gives you an idea of an internal competition and where InfoReady really sings as for managing that workflow. Next slide. We have a pretty good number of about 50 in the mid to small range universities, so as well as about 150 overall, next slide, companies that are, sorry, universities that use InfoReady, because we are made specifically for the higher ed market. This slide shows you how your peers are really using InfoReady. So Alan talked a little bit about their internal funding, and you can see that that is the majority of use cases that we have. But we do extend, people have I mean, they use this, they're trying to find uses for this everywhere. They're crazy. So it's, they're doing a lot of fellowships and award recognition, nominations, routing approvals. So really anywhere you have a submission, approval, review process, this is InfoReady may be a solution for you. Next slide. So as I was saying, we have 150 institutions in higher ed research, and again, 50 of those roughly are in the mid to small range. So it fits really well with that type of university and the research program. We are so proud to talk about our 99% retention rate, which means that not only are we solving the problems, but we are supporting your university and your administration staff in every step of the way. We're there to hold your hand. And again, you'll look on the right and you'll see the travel grants, no-cost extensions, lots of use cases for InfoReady review, in addition to internal awards and limited submissions. Next slide. At a high level, we're a cloud-based solution. We disseminate the opportunities, collect and review applications, route materials, and review and approval, and then really make the awards and track the outcomes. There was quite a bit of talk about reporting, and those are a really big feature because every piece of information is tracked and stored in InfoReady. Then you have the ability to create reports and export information in any way that you would like. So if you are interested in having a group demo or you want to share this with more information with other people, please contact me or send a note in the chat box. We can set up a time where we can have, we'll customize a demo for your university. Ellen showed us quite a few screenshots and pictures of the software, so I'm not going to go into that detail at this point, but we are more than happy to show you the software as you would be using it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to Carlos. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Diane. Now, that pretty much wraps it up here from our end. So anyone who stayed on, thank you for spending your time with us today. We really appreciate it. And as I mentioned to the first group that left, if you want a link to the recording, we'll be posting that to our website for the next week or so, but we'll also be sharing the unedited version here shortly today. And then if you do have any follow-up questions, the post-webinar survey is a great place to provide that, fill out those questions, and also if you want to connect with Ellen, that's a good place to request that as well. And, if you have any sort of tips for us, also a good place for that.
Other webinar ideas.
And other webinar ideas as well. So, thanks again for your time. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye.